Hello and welcome to episode 62 of Ready to Mosh. I'm Gem G, and with me, as always, the slash to my axle, Kev P.
Hello.
You alright?
I'm good, yeah. End of the working week.
It is, yeah. Not many working days to go for download.
19 sleeps as we record this.
Yeah. And speaking of download, shall we start with some download news that you've got?
Oh, I'm glad you know that I've got some download news.
Well, I know you. We do prepare these things, you know.
Yeah, so Five Finger Death Punch have pulled out, probably as everybody knows. Unfortunately, Ivan's had complications from surgery, which is very sad because I was hoping to see Five Finger Death Punch again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. And there are possible replacements being bandied about, some more feasible than others. One is The Offspring, which is doable unless Slam Dunk's a UK exclusive, but I don't think it is.
I would like it to be Offspring, I think.
I would, yeah. Another one that's been mentioned is Tenacious D.
Again, wouldn't say no.
Yeah, I wouldn't say no. It's been even longer since I've seen Tenacious D.
Yeah.
Third one is Bullet for My Valentine.
Wouldn't be so fussed at. It would be alright.
And the final one is Skindred.
Which has been mentioned a lot, and even Benji himself's got in on the act for that.
Yeah, Benji's been berating Mr. Coppin to reach out. Yeah, could be any of those.
Wait and see.
There's also the Download Fancy Dress has been announced, which is the Stranger Things theme, which is pretty pointless if you ask me.
Why?
Because everybody going to see Metallica that weekend will be dressed like that anyway.
Oh, that's true. I mean, there's a high chance there's going to be a lot of Hellfire Club t-shirts, regardless of it being an official theme.
Well, yeah. But it's just it's just ironic that they've kind of phased out all of the dad music, as it were, this year from Download. So they've made it fancy dress.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I just don't get it.
No, the last couple of fancy dress themes have just been a bit
offensive.
Not really fancy.
No, like last year's was new metal. That's not a fancy dress. That's a way of life.
Exact words I was going to use. Yeah, what happened to, I don't know, Viking Day or superheroes or those daft ones we used to get?
Wasn't there kind of like a wrestler day or a Mexican wrestler day, something like that?
Not that I've ever partook in them anyway.
No, I've not.
That's not the point.
It's irrelevant, isn't it? But it's just a bit shit. And I'm going to steal another few moments because as we're kind of approaching festival season, another band cancelled. So Walkings have pulled out of Bloodstock, but they've been replaced by Visions of Atlantis, and that's a UK festival exclusive. So that's a good replacement there.
It is, and good to know at least Bloodstock can get the replacements out
and
quick.
Name them.
Yeah, leave us all wondering. Download can't do anything quick, can they, apart from take your money?
Yeah.
Right, speaking of cancellations then, Kiss have cancelled their Plymouth show from their farewell tour, which was due to take place on the 3rd of June. As far as we know, the rest of the tour is still going ahead. This one was just cancelled due to logistics, in inverted commas, aka I don't think they were selling many tickets for it, from what I've gathered.
Oh. You see, I'm surprised at that, because I thought Kiss would just sell out everywhere.
But it was in Plymouth, which, no offence to Plymouth, is probably not the easiest place in the world to get to unless you're down there and you that way.
It is the arse end of the UK, isn't it?
And the other point, I think, as well, is timing. It's the weekend before Download, because Plymouth being the home of Rockfit, there was going to be a Rockfit gathering because Skindred were supporting them there. Obviously, we did the Skindred flash mob last year. And when the post went up about doing something for that, quite a few people, including myself, did comment saying, I would do, but it's the weekend before Download and I don't really have time or spare cash to travel down. It's not like you can go up and down in a day from a lot of the country, so you'd have to have an overnight, etc. So I think that might be
part of the reason.
Part of it as well, really, which is a shame because you don't get many big gigs in Plymouth, I don't think.
No.
So it would have been good for the area, I guess, but not meant to be.
No. Part of me is kind of glad Kiss are cancelling gigs just because it's their, what was the last one called? Was it No More?
No More Tours. That was Aussie.
Oh, no, it was Aussie, yeah. What was the Kiss one called? Was it End of the Road?
Yeah, but it's a very long road.
It's a very long fucking road.
They've extended it a bit since last year.
Yeah, they put a bypass in.
Yeah. I even heard as well, I don't know if this is true, but that they were trying to not give away the tickets, but they took like 20% off, did an offer on them, which I find hard to believe. Kiss discounting something. Next up is Foo Fighters have released another new song called Under You, so another single off their upcoming album. Haven't had a chance to listen to it yet.
No, I've not listened to it either.
And they're also going to be doing, this is kind of a bit of a non-news item because this is coming out the day before the podcast goes out, but on Sunday night, they're doing a free live stream. So by the time this goes out, this will have happened. So we are intending to watch it, I think.
I think so, yeah.
We can. So we'll report back on that probably in next week's news.
Just on the Foo Fighters as well, I'm currently listening to the Dave Grohl audiobook, the new one.
What's it like?
It's really good. Yeah. His eloquency through the book's fantastic.
Is he the voice of it?
He's doing the voice. He's narrating it.
Not a fan of an audiobook, but I think I'd like that.
I love it. I love an audiobook if it's the actual person doing the audiobook. And yeah, it's really good so far. Currently up to Nirvana just finishing touring in Japan. 91, I think it was.
Okay. Because I didn't like the last Dave Grohl book that he released, that biography. You know the one. Yeah. And you weren't keen on it either, were you?
No,
it was just a bit long-winded.
Dull.
Yeah, dull.
And and I know somebody who listened to the audiobook of that as well, and they didn't like the audiobook.
Oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll lose my audiobook virginity on it.
Why not?
Right, next up then, we're not doing full-on reviews this week, but there were two we think big-ish, releases today, because today is Friday, that we're just going to mention, because we've talked about some of the contents of both previously. So do you want to start with yours?
Yeah, so I've been listening to the new Sleep Token album, which is Take Me Back to Eden. And it's actually surprising me, because I am quite liking it from what I've heard so far.
You did like some of the singles, though.
Yeah, but the singles were hit and miss for me.
Yeah, especially the last one was a miss.
Yeah. But everything I've listened to so far, I've enjoyed. And I think there's a couple of tracks on there you'll actually really like, despite not being a Sleep Token fan.
I assume they're ones that weren't singles, then?
Yeah.
I will give it a listen at some point. I've not had a chance yet today, because I've been elsewhere occupied.
Yeah.
But I will put it in my ears at some point. So the other release then is Ghost's Phantomime EP, which is 5 cover songs from off of the 80s. So we already mentioned Jesus, He Knows Me, the Genesis cover when that got released on Easter Sunday. And then there's See No Evil by Television, Hanging Around by the Stranglers, Phantom of the Opera by Iron Maiden, and We Don't Need Another Hero, the Tina Turner song. And you've not listened to...
I've listened to 2 of the songs. I've listened to Jesus, He Knows Me and We Don't Need Another Hero.
Your thoughts on the second one?
Fucking terrible.
Really?
Yeah, it's absolutely shit. You could just burn that EP for me. It's horrible.
Oh. Well, I like it. There we go.
You were always going to lie.
I like all of them. I've not decided on a favourite yet. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. Your opinion is apparently shared by a certain Paul Di'Arno. Remember him? He still exists.
Off of the 80s?
Off of the 80s, yeah. He's not a fan of the Phantom of the Opera cover. He put, because this got actually released on, I think, was it Tuesday or Wednesday, prior to the full EP coming out. He put a comment, I think it was on his Facebook page, something along the lines of, can you tell me a Ghost song that I can do a shit cover of? Or I can ruin, or something like that. He's not impressed with it.
Well done him, yeah.
Although interestingly, I wasn't aware he was still like an active person in the music industry, really. I know, but he is actually supporting KK's Priest later in the year, getting himself a bit of publicity there.
Yeah.
And also, on Ghost News, why not? Let's have 3 bits. They've also released a game on the website today called Escape the Ministry. I've tried to play it, I've not got very far, but yeah, it's a little bit of an added extra. It seems quite fun. So
everybody will be looking for hidden secrets within it then, as they always do.
What does it mean?
Well, that's the news. So we should probably go on to the main feature. Okay, so we're moving on to Metal to the Masses now. And it was semi-final 2 in Nottingham last night. We didn't get to go to semi-final 1.
No, unfortunately that took place last Saturday and we were otherwise engaged. So we didn't make it there, but just quickly go over the 6 bands that were there last week. They were For Fox's Sake, Confide, Down in One, Tory L'Amour, and then the winners of semi-final 1 were Dead Demons, who were one of our recommendations back at the start of the year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great that they're going to be through to the final. And also joining them in the final are 13th Sign. So yeah, that's the first 2 bands confirmed through. Obviously, the second 2 bands we'll talk about shortly when we move on. And the final will be on the 8th of July at the Old Coal Store in Nottingham. So we'll move on now to last night's semi-final, so you can find out who will be joining them.
Yeah, so it was in the Tap and Tumbler, as usual. And it was actually really busy, I'd noticed. It was probably the busiest I've seen it for any of the Metal to the Masses.
Yeah, I guess obviously there were 6 bands on. There's normally 3 in the heat. So 6 bands to start with, and obviously any entourage that they've got with them. Plus your normal people that would go in there and people there supporting them. Yeah,
there was a lot of people with actually band shirts on as well. I noticed last night from quite a few of the bands.
Yeah, that was good to see.
Yeah, well. So a lot of good local support.
Yeah, which is what you want. Obviously, with it being quite busy, if you've been to the Tap, you'll know that it's not always, although I love it as a pub and a venue, it's not always the best to actually see the stage, is it? Just because of the layout. So we didn't have the best view, but then we maintained that view for the whole night, just so we had an equal view, I guess, of each band.
An equal measure of sound.
Yeah, and vision, which was lacking, unfortunately. You could see bits, and we've got a bit of footage to show, which we'll share on Instagram. So with the semi-finals, the 6 bands are drawn earlier on in that evening. So we knew roughly about a couple of hours before what order bands were going to be on.
Yeah.
And the first one up last night was Crying Corvid,
who were probably my favourite band of the night, I think.
Okay.
So I was quite surprised they didn't make it through. I think the trouble is when you're the first band on, it's always difficult.
I was going to say, although it was busy to start with, it did get noticeably busier as the night went on, which you'd obviously expect. So it's always going to be a bit difficult being on first because you may have less people there to watch you.
Yeah.
There was still a good crowd there for them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's still a good crowd. But yeah, these were my favourite. Kind of Nirvana meets Iggy and the Stooges.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised. Not that I thought I wouldn't like them, but just in that I'd not come across them before last night. Yeah, I thought they were very much like a young Nirvana, Bleach era kind of
period.
Yeah, kind of grunge with some hints of punk going through there, quite dirty, grungy. Really enjoyed the vocals as well.
Yeah, I really did like them. I thought they were excellent. And yeah, they're a 3-piece grunge band from Nottingham.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they really kind of set the bar, didn't they?
Yeah, definitely. Set quite highly to start with, I would say. I think they did about 6 tracks roughly. And just to say as well, each band had 20 minutes last night, and then there's about a 20-minute changeover between each. So I think it kind of varied between about 4 and 6 tracks for each band.
Okay, moving on to the second band, which was Deadbait.
Yeah, another one that I'd not come across before last night. I'd seen the name mentioned around, obviously, because we've been keeping an eye on the Metal to the Masses heats.
Yeah.
See who'd gone through. And obviously each of these bands won their heat, so they're already at a good standard anyway, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, I thought these were, again, really good. And kind of like a scream sort of metalcore sound.
Yeah, kind of.
For me.
Bit of hardcore, post-hardcore, I thought, in the sound as well. It had some really groovy bass going on at times. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, do you know what? One of the things I've got is that the bass was really cool throughout. And it was quite a mature sound as well from kind of what looked like a very young band.
Yeah. And track 2 I thought was quite melodic as well in comparison to the first one. They came on quite screamy and then it kind of almost softened a little bit. So they had almost a variety of sound.
Yeah, different.
And genre.
Yeah, different kinds of sounds going on. But yeah, again, very good. Enjoyed those. Next
up then were Beyond Your Design, 4-piece metalcore band. Lots and lots of support for them.
Yeah, one of the first things I wrote was there was a lot of crowd popularity for these guys.
I mean, I think they're really well known on the local scene anyway, aren't they? Quite well established already.
One of the things I thought was that the vocals, there seemed to be a couple of audio issues with a couple of bands, and I think it started here.
Yeah.
So some of the vocals seemed almost kind of like underwhelming, but not through a technical point, just through, not through...
I know what you're trying to say.
Not through the performance.
Yeah.
Not through the performance part.
Yeah.
But through technical issues with whatever sound system they got.
Yeah.
But other parts of the sound seemed a lot higher. So like the specifically kind of like the drums, hi-hats, stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of very catchy songs as well.
Yeah, there was a lot of crowd interaction with them, lots of clapping along, and a lot of people knew their stuff.
Yeah.
And were singing along to it. I thought it was a really polished performance, and they got their own light set up as well. So we got the Stowe warning signs come out.
Yeah, Stowe.
To me, it almost felt like they were playing on a bigger stage than what they actually were. Their setup almost seemed bigger than
everybody else's.
Yeah, it was just like they'd already made that next step up already.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I think obviously because they are so well established already,
there's already going to be a lot of support.
You can see them on a bigger stage already, and it's almost like they've been condensed down into the little stage that you get at the top.
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But yeah, I've wanted to see them for a while because I've seen them bandied about a lot.
Yeah.
Next up were Memoirs of the Damned.
Yeah, formerly Liberator.
Yeah, until quite recently. I think even their heat that they qualified from, they were known as Liberator, but they've just been rebranded.
Yeah, a bit of a strange move, but...
It is, but I prefer the new name.
Yeah, I prefer the I do prefer the new name.
I think they probably get the award for best name of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, 4-piece metal band. And again, I think with these, there was, again, more issues with the audio. And a lot of it didn't seem very clear, other than the bass. The bass was really good, actually.
Yeah, I thought generally, musically, they were really good, really well polished, but the audio on the vocals just seemed not quite right. And again, not through a performance point.
Yeah.
From a technical, there was an issue with it, which was a shame, really. I think if that had worked better, it would have created a better overall sound.
Yeah, it would have done. Yeah, if the audio had been clearer, I think they would have got...
Yeah, but I mean, I really enjoyed them, though. I thought they were really good.
Yeah, I thought they were good. I thought the audience kind of went a little bit flat. There were peaks and then it'd thin out for a little while. And...
Yeah, I think it was a bit noticeable because Beyond Your Design had so much support. People then just seemed to disappear.
Yeah.
And it did thin out again for them. But there was a lot of people still there watching, and they had some hand waving going along. They were interacting with the audience, and they did have the only wall of death of the evening.
Yes.
Which was... It's always fun to see, especially in a small venue, isn't it? You're like, what? Are they really going to do that? So, yeah, it was a great performance overall, I thought. Yeah,
I think performance-wise they were great. It's just a shame that there were some audio issues.
And again, another one that I wasn't really familiar with before last night. So I picked up some new bands to look at in more detail.
Next up were Unified Roots, who are a 4-piece kind of punk grunge band from Notts. And, yeah, these kind of like had a 70s... and kind of Strokes kind of sound, I thought.
Yeah, there
places.
Were indie vibes coming through.
Yeah.
There were quite a mixture of, like I say, there were hints of grunge, at times quite punky. There was one track, I can't remember which one it was, but towards the end, Piss Generation, I think, reminded me of Dead Kennedys.
Oh, right, okay. One of the things, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy watching these, but one of the things I did think was, obviously this is to go through eventually to play at Bloodstock. But I'm not sure kind of like how this fits into the Bloodstock kind of sound. I
did think that as well. I don't want to sound like a gatekeeper, like, oh, you must be.
Yeah, you must be a certain type.
Yeah. And I know that Bloodstock do bring in other bands that aren't your stereotypical Bloodstock band. Yeah, I did kind of think that, but I really enjoyed the performance. Yeah, I was really impressed. They seemed quite young as well.
Yeah, so I thought performance-wise they were really solid. They did have a lot of feedback, though. Kind of unintentional feedback.
Yeah, they seem to have a little bit of trouble at the start as well when they were doing their kind of sound checking testing before they started.
Which again just kind of goes back to what we were saying about the audio issues with some of the other bands.
Yeah, but really visceral. I really enjoyed those vocals.
Yeah, the tempo kind of changed as well, sort of midway. It suddenly got a lot faster.
Yeah. There's another track as well reminded me of someone, I can't think who it is. I've done my usual. It reminded me of Question Mark.
Okay.
I know. I was hoping that I'd remember this morning, but I've not. Yeah, they were really good.
And then on to the final band, Buried by My Heartache.
Yes, who we mentioned. We saw their heat, saw them go through from that. And another former recommendation of ours.
Yeah, many moons ago now.
Yeah, last year was it?
I think it was, yeah.
Interestingly, I was making a few notes through each band as we watched them through the night. Didn't actually make any of these because I was just bopping away enjoying them.
Yeah, I think the problem is that obviously we've discussed Buried by My Heartache before. They're a previous recommendation. Because I'm familiar with all of their catalogue, it's difficult to kind of comment on it.
Yeah.
Because I just know it so well.
But again, it was a really strong performance from them.
Yeah, so I don't think they had the best set they've ever done last night, having watched them in previous heats. And I think in some of the heat stuff I've seen them in, I thought they were better than they were last night, but last night was still a good performance.
Although, bear in mind, you did have a different vantage point than when you saw them first time. You were right at the front.
That is very true,
Which could have
actually.
impacted.
Yeah, it could have made a difference.
Yeah.
Again, I thought there were slight sound problems.
At least that was consistent through the night, though.
It was, yeah.
Kinda.
But it did pick up through the set, and I still think the band delivered it really well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, lots of crowd support for them,
Yeah,
as there was in the heat.
yeah.
Yeah. Like we said about Beyond Your Design, really quite established now in the local scene, I would say.
Yeah. So I suppose we should mention who went through.
Yeah. Obviously, before who went through, we had the voting process. So as with the heats, you had your QR code to vote for 3 bands. For the semi-final, it was 70% on the judges' vote and 30% on the public vote.
Whereas it was 50-50 last time, wasn't it?
For the heats, I believe so, yeah. But you could still pick 3. You gave like 3, 2, 1 for your top, middle and bottom.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, and obviously waited 15 minutes for the result to be announced.
So we made our choices. Who did you go for?
So 3 points went to your favourite on the night.
Yeah.
So I gave 3 points to Buried by My Heartache.
I gave 3 points to Crying Corvid. So we've already chosen differently.
We have. That's interesting as well, because obviously, Buried by My Heartache we're more familiar with. That was the first time you'd seen Crying Corvid, and they got your top marks.
They did, yeah. I thought they were just really good.
Yeah, I think that's quite a telling sign for them, the impact they've made on you.
Okay, for 2 points.
For 2 points, it was Memoirs of the Damned for me. So they obviously made an impact on the night for me.
Yeah. My number 2 was Buried by My Heartache.
And who did you give 1 point to? You go first on this one.
Okay. The final one for me was Deadbait.
Okay, mine was Beyond Your Design. I find it really hard to pick, though, I have to say. You know, I'm awful at picking one. And I think like the other 4 for me were all kind of on a par, so it was hard to pick.
The 3?
Yeah. And I was almost tempted, because I knew Beyond Your Design would get loads of votes anyway. I was like, do I just pick someone else? But then I just couldn't pick, so I just went for them, which is probably a rubbish way of going about it. But
yeah, I think mine was just kind of based on the performance of the night. And then we'd also got bands who unfortunately suffered because of technical issues.
Yeah.
Which would have been better if that wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
So I had to, there were 2 or 3 bands that really struggled with that. Which is a real shame, because I think they would have potentially, the results could have been potentially different.
So on to the winners then.
Yeah.
The 2 bands that are going through to the final are Buried by My Heartache.
Yep.
And Beyond Your Design.
So you got 2 of them.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, it was a really strong night. All the performances were really good, and I think any of them could have gone through.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. Like you said, very good performances all the way through. And I think if you look at kind of like the popularity of some of the bands, I think they were the 2 that probably had the biggest kind of crowd support.
Yeah, saying that, although only 30% of that did go towards the overall winners anyway.
But whether that influences a judge's vote or not.
It could do.
Yeah.
So the final 4 in the Nottingham Metal to the Masses final are Dead Demons, 13th Sign, Buried by My Heartache, and Beyond Your Design. So very much looking forward to that on the 8th of July at the Old Cold Store. Also performing will be Drip Fed Empire, who were last year's Nottingham winners. Tickets are available now. I believe they're £7 in advance, £10 on the night. Yeah,
so as soon as we finish this, I think we'll go and book some.
Yeah. And recommendation this week. We haven't just got one recommendation. We're just going to recommend that you go and listen to all the bands we've mentioned. And also check out your local Metal to the Masses. Yeah. Because they're everywhere.
They are everywhere, yeah.
And as we've said with our review of this one, there's some bands that we hadn't really listened to before last night.
Yeah.
And we really like them. So, do it.
Well, hope you enjoyed that episode. Thank you very much for listening. You can, of course, find us on Instagram and Twitter at Ready to Mosh Cast. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at Ready to Mosh. And please give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to, because it does make a big difference.
And we would really like that.
Yes, we would. Yeah, or leave us a review as well. Yeah. It all helps. And we'll be back next week with another episode.
Or maybe even sooner. Make it stop, Moog.